let's go. Everybody up on their feet. Ready? Let's get some leg on those tippy toes. Born a champion. There's your name, Seal. Born a champion. Woohoo! All right, good. Round of applause for yourselves there. Good job. You got your blood flowing, right? All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. Welcome to the guests. And for those of you, raise your hand if it's your first workshop tonight. How many of you? Good. We got a bunch of people here. Their first workshops. Awesome. Everybody give them a round of applause. Good job for being here. Give yourself a pat on the back. How many of you guys have been to a workshop before? A workshop or 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 50, 60, 100? Okay. All right. So I always like to have some fun because you'll see, but if tonight's your first time, by the end of the program tonight, you'll realize why you keep coming back, because if you keep learning, you keep growing. On the other hand, when you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start what? Dying, yes. So that's a little saying that we have, but it's actually true, isn't it? You got to keep learning, got to keep growing. So next month, we have our Titanium Immune System Workshop. How important is that in this day that we live in? Who here would like to have their immune system functioning at peak performance? Say aye.
Aye.
Make sure you get one of these workshop cards if you don't have one, so you know what the titles are every single month. We have a different workshop, and you'll keep learning, and you'll see what the cutting-edge technology is to have your immune system working at its best. So, just wanted to mention that. Uncommon courtesy. You know, as they say, common sense is not so common anymore with everybody. So, I like to just mention these things that if you have a phone, which probably everybody does, now is the time to silence it. Put it in the silent mode so that we don't hear it ringing, or you're not tempted to actually take a phone call, which I've actually had people talking on their phone. Have you ever seen that before? That's embarrassing, isn't it? So please don't let that be you. And so turn it off, turn it on vibrate. Also, we want to just try to maintain a learning environment. For those of you who are teachers, you guys know how important this is. When there's one little distraction, somebody. So again, let's just try to make sure that we keep you as focused as possible, and that's not just for your benefit, for everybody. So with that being said, the question is, ready, set, go. What are we ready for tonight? What are we focused on? What are we learning? Raise your hand if some of you are here tonight because you want to learn how to lower your blood sugar, get your blood sugar under control. How many of you guys are here tonight because you just want to maybe get your weight under control? Yeah, okay. How many of you guys are here tonight because you just want to learn how just to get your metabolism working and just get healthier overall? Yeah. So guess what? Before you leave tonight, I promise you, every single one of you who raise your hands right now, you're going to get something important that's going to be helpful for you. Diabetes is one of those conditions where it kind of sneaks up on you. I think it's been said that 1 out of every 2 people you know are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And the diabetes, once you have it, it's kind of obvious. But what we tend to forget is that this is one of those conditions that's insidious. What does that mean? It means it's happening and develops while you're not really aware of it. And then by the time you're diagnosed with it, it's what? It's too late. So, the stats show that when a diabetic typically loses anywhere between 8 to 10 years off of their life expectancy. So that's a lot, and it's sad, but it's preventable. Type 2 diabetes is completely 100% preventable, treatable, curable, and reversible with proper lifestyle. And that's what you're going to learn tonight. It's not just an emotional problem and costly from that standpoint. It's also a financial burden as well. It's the most expensive chronic condition that burdens our healthcare system right now. It's 25% of all U.S. healthcare costs spent on caring for people with diabetes. If you're taking medications, whether insurance pays for it or not, you look at anywhere between $200 to $500 a month. So you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that an individual spends on treating this particular disease. So it's significant. It really is, and that's why this is one of the most important workshops we could have. Typically, the drug regimens include what? Metformin, which everybody here knows that it's not necessarily correcting the cause of the problem, but you need something to get things under control until you learn of a better option. Last year, it was recall for carcinogens and cancer-causing toxins inside of it. Many of you guys are not even aware of this. And I often find these drugs and I find these recalls, and I tell people at the workshops, go back and ask your doctor, what you should do about this. And then they do, and they're like, oh yeah, my doctor said he's been meaning to call me. Too late. You have to be on top of these things. Metformin doubles your chances of dying from cardiovascular problems. And then we have insulin, right? Approximately 25% of the 28 million Americans who are diabetic are put on insulin. And most of these people are obese. Most of these people are overweight. And if you're overweight and you're taking insulin, you're taking a bad problem and you're actually making it worse. And here's why. And this is supported, we know this from clinical endocrinology journals. Insulin is a hormone. And insulin not only signals sugar to get into the cells, but it also signals fat storing. It takes your body, when insulin goes up, it takes your body out of fat burning and it puts it into what? Fat storing. So if you're overweight and you have your blood sugar is resistant, and what's happening is insulin's going up, you're putting on weight. So when you go to the doctor, if you're running high blood sugar, if you have insulin resistance, they're going to give you insulin. If you're put on insulin, what's going to happen? You're going to gain more weight. And the more weight that you gain, the more resistant you are to insulin. Yeah. So it's a vicious cycle, and that's why people have a higher mortality rate who take insulin injections. This one journal showed that they died more than twice the rate of those given non-insulin treatments. Does that make sense? Journal of the American Medical Association found a study that older patients with type 2 diabetes medications to lower their blood sugars may do what? More harm than good. So the question we always ask ourselves is, what's worse? What's worse? Is it the disease or the treatment? Right? Sometimes the treatment is worse than the disease. Sometimes you need medications, like in short-term situations, just to get things under control, whether it's your blood pressure or your blood sugar or something serious. But that's never a long-term solution, because all drugs have what? Side effects. And you can see from the literature, the medical literature, that the longer you're on these medications, the shorter your life expectancy. And so that's my assumption. That's why people are looking for answers. What else can I do instead? Now, I don't stand in front of the crowds and say, okay, stop taking your insulin, stop taking your metformin, stop doing that right now. That's not a good idea. No, right? You got to get your body strong enough to where it doesn't depend on that. And that's the purpose of the workshop tonight, to give you the tools to be able to do that. Cruel cost of ignoring diabetes, we know. What else comes with diabetes? Vision loss, not just amputation. 60% of the amputations, which are preventable, are from diabetes. Every single year, there's 80,000 amputations and more. Along with that comes vision loss, neuropathy, obesity, heart disease, cancer, and what? Alzheimer's disease. So becoming a diabetic doubles your risk of Alzheimer's disease. And this is one of the important things that I don't think many people are really dialed into. When you're thinking about diabetes, you're thinking about heart disease, you're thinking about gangrene and limb amputations and things like that, but you're not really thinking about your future years. Being able to recognize your family members, like actually knowing who you are, where you are, and being able to form concepts and solve basic problems. And this is huge. This is my biggest concern for my diabetic patients. Like, what is your life, what does your brain look like 10, 20 years from now? And so what's the most important test to determine if you're moving towards Alzheimer's disease? Does anybody know the answer to that? You said it, Deborah. Denise, you said it. A1C. Did you hear that, guys? What's the most important test to determine if you're moving towards Alzheimer's disease? Your A1C? What do you mean A1C? I thought A1C is to determine if you're diabetic. Yes, but according to this, if you're diabetic, you're doubling your risk of Alzheimer's disease. And this is a process that eats away at your brain, basically. So this is a journal of neurology, a medical journal. They did a study and they found that your A1C is associated with changes in your brain size. And the higher your A1C, the more atrophy there is in your brain volume. Did you know that? So they looked at MRIs over a 6-year period of time with diabetic patients, and they wanted to correlate these tests with brain atrophy. When they compared the degree of brain tissue loss with the people with the lowest A1C compared to the highest A1C, it was double in the patients with the highest A1C. So that's significant. In a large cohort study, more than 10,000 diabetics, they found that aggressive blood sugar lowering medication actually caused deaths. Now, this was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, guys. These are leading medical journals, most prestigious medical journals that you'll hear of on planet Earth. And this is what they're saying. The Diabetes Prevention Program research group, studying some of these, showed that lifestyle changes are even more effective than diabetes drugs such as metformin. Lifestyle changes. What is lifestyle changes? When you hear that word, what do you think of? What? Exercise. What else? Diet. What else? What's it? Sleep. Very good. What else? Adjustments, managing your stress, all these things. And not only doing it, but doing it more than once annually. Like doing it what? Consistently. Consistency. Yes, consistency is key. So, the lifestyle changes that I'm going to recommend to you come with lower costs and greater life expectancy. Isn't that exciting? Turn to your neighbor and say, that's exciting! That's exciting. Woohoo! All right, so here's where the rubber meets the road. Here's how you learn how type 2 diabetes works and how to actually reverse it. So if you look, I want you to look at the top left. You see all the food up there? You see all, can everybody see that right there? You got eggs, fish, meats, and then you've got your nuts and your low sugar fruits and vegetables. So that's largely a low sugar paleo diet. When you don't have a lot of demand on your pancreas and your insulin, when you're just running stable blood sugar levels, after you have a meal, your sugar goes up moderately. And insulin has to rise moderately also. And when insulin goes up in your bloodstream, insulin is those little blue molecules there. Can you see the blue in the picture there? And you see a little bit of blue, but you see a lot of red. Now the red is the glucose, that's the sugar. The blue is the insulin. So when glucose rises, insulin rises so that it can actually get into the insulin receptors, which are those blue tubes right there. So once those blue molecules get into the blue tubes, it opens up the channel like a lock and key. And then what happens is it opens the channel so the glucose can get into the cell. Glucose cannot get into the cells without the insulin actually opening up that channel there. So that's how that works. As long as those insulin receptors are listening and are functional, glucose can get into the cells. And that's what a normal, healthy blood system should look like. That's what normal, healthy sugar levels should look like. Does that make sense to everybody? Is everybody following me? Okay. Now, that's different from the standard, typical American diet, which is, Dunkin' Donuts for breakfast, French fries for lunch, as an example. You have a sandwich, you have bread for lunch, you may have fettuccine for lunch, you may have Arizona iced tea or a soft drink, which is high fructose corn syrup, right? Or you have your Frosted Flakes for breakfast, or any of these things which is driving what? Glucose. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, snacks, what are you doing? Driving glucose, high blood sugar, and insulin is responding to that all day long, and because of that, it's shutting down the insulin receptors. So what happens is that insulin resistance is basically from too much sugar bombarding the receptors all day long, every day, every week, every month, year after year after year. What happens? They finally what? They shut down. They go on strike. Okay? So this is a situation that's actually reversible. And what they found is that when you bring your sugar levels down and you stop bombarding the insulin receptors like that, what happens? The insulin receptors actually start coming back to life. Like when you water a plant, right? You don't have to hope, wish, or wonder if it's going to come back. You water the plants and then what happens? It all starts coming back. So the key to reversing type 2 diabetes is to lay off the what? The sugar. Keep your glucose down, keep your insulin down, and allow these insulin receptors to heal up And when you do, you regain what's called insulin sensitivity. Okay? Instead of insulin resistance, you can actually create insulin sensitivity. And you do that by controlling your sugars and making better food decisions. So I'm going to cover some of that with you. Everybody tracking with me so far? All right. So the key to reversing diabetes is, number one, killing the carbs. Because if you can reverse insulin resistance, create insulin sensitivity, you're preventing type 3 diabetes. You know what type 3 diabetes is? Alzheimer's. Yeah. Many neurologists are now using that term. You're learning it here. You're going to see it in the news a year, 2, 3 years from now. It's like, Dr. Yachter, he was talking about that years ago. Yeah, guys, I've been doing these workshops for over 20 years, every month, month after month for 20 years. If I had a nickel for every time somebody said that. I love to have fun with these things, but it's true. You know, if you just stay plugged in and you come back to the workshops every month, when you have your visits with your doctors every year, you'll know the right questions to ask so you can engage in intelligent conversation and protect your health. Otherwise, you do what everybody else does and you get what everybody else gets. More medication, more disease. It's common, but it's not normal. So, again, I'm encouraging you to continue doing what you're doing. Keep going back to the workshops, keep learning, keep understanding this. The more you come back, the more on the cutting edge and ahead of the game you will be. Right or right? Yes. So, with sugar and type 2 diabetes also go hand in hand obesity, weight gain. So it's hard to keep your weight down because insulin is a hormone. What did I say a few minutes ago? That insulin not only helps sugar get into the cells, but it also signals fat storing, right? So if you want to learn how to take your body out of fat storing and turn it into fat burning, raise your hand. How many of you guys want to be a fat burner? Yes, full-time fat burning. Okay, so all of fat burning and weight loss really comes down to hormones, not riding your bike longer or going on a longer run or burning more calories. In fact, I can show you how to lose weight without exercising at all. You just have to change the hormones. If you get the hormones dialed in properly, your body will burn the fat instead of storing it. And so, remember, it all has to do with your glucose going up. So when you're doing that, you're teaching your body to store fat. But if you can keep stable blood sugar levels all day long, your body will start to burn fat. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do tonight. And you ever notice the difference between grain-fed meat and grass-fed meat? The grain-fed meat has all the marbling in it. The grain-fed meat has all the fat in it. I mean, I love a ribeye just as much as the next person. One of the reasons why the ribeyes are so tasty is because there's so much fat in it. What do they feed the cattle to fatten them up, to bring them to market, get the biggest bang for the buck? Corn, yeah. So corn and grain causes your insulin levels to go up. Not just you, but cows, chickens, fish. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, the bodies kind of work the same. Insulin goes up, we're packing on more fat, packing on more meat. So, no different than farm animals, it works the same for us. If you can eliminate the grains, you can cut out a lot of the fat. Are you with me? Okay, yeah, and I'm not saying that, you can find nutritional value in grains. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is creating a hormonal response to let your body release the fat effortlessly. It just lets it go because it doesn't need it. And you're balancing your hormones on many different levels. This is going to translate to your cortisol, the way you sleep, the energy that you have when you wake up in the morning, your estrogen, your testosterone. It's all linked. Every hormone has an effect on the others. And insulin is a big catalyst. You got that? This is really important stuff. Yeah. Fatty liver disease too. So, okay, so let's start with understanding some of the choices that we make. Let's say you wake up for breakfast, your friend has you over for breakfast, and there on your plate is eggs and bacon, you got toast and grits. So what happens if you eat the grits? What happens if you eat the grits? What is that? What are grits made of? Corn, right? So what's it going to do to the insulin? There you go. Now, if you're pre-diabetic or you're diabetic or you're overweight, you're still perpetuating the same problem that you created in the first place. You're not going to have a change with that. What about the bread? So that's whole wheat bread. Whole wheat's good, right? that's good, heart again. Nope, it's going to cause what? An insulin response, right? Yeah, so if you're trying to control your blood sugar, if you're trying to prevent diabetes, if you're trying to stabilize your diabetes, reduce or get off the medication, what is the choice you want to make with that picture right there? What do you want to eat and what do you want to not eat? Eggs. Eat the eggs. Did the eggs have an effect on your blood sugar? No. Right? What else can you eat? You can eat the bacon. There may be some toxins there. I don't know. But you know what? Let's work with one problem at a time, right? if you got to get your blood sugar under control, have the bacon and the eggs. So we'll work on the toxicity later, right? Okay, what about a nice bowl of oatmeal with the fruit in there? What's going on with that picture? What is it? Sugar, yeah. So oatmeal's a grain. Not saying it doesn't have nutritional value, but what's it going to do to your sugar? It's going to take it for a ride, yeah. And then that's going to be one of those days where the waistline is not going down. Pants are still going to be tight. You're going to be checking your blood sugar. It's not going to be changing anything. So you want to avoid that. I'll tell you what's good in that picture. The low sugar fruits, which excludes bananas. Yeah. Now, if you have 2 slices of banana in there, it's not going to make much of a difference. But your low sugar fruits are the berries. And those are good. So I'm gonna circle back to that. How about Cheerios? So heart healthy. Everybody should have a bowl of Cheerios. Come on, right? What is it? Carbs, grain, not ideal. Oh, what about Nutri-Grain? That looks so healthy. I mean, I could just see the sun coming up behind those bars there. It's such a beautiful picture. Wonderful marketing. What is that telling us? Lies. Read the label. And what you'll find in there? You're going to find 80 ingredients, and it's all sugar and hydrogenated fats. All made in the laboratory. Hydrogenated corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. Read those labels. You will be appalled at what you're putting into your body. So, not a good idea. And then what about our Egg McMuffin? What's the problem there?
The bread.
The bread, yeah. So throw out the bread, have your ham and cheese and bacon or your eggs. That's not going to have an effect on your blood sugar. How about for lunch? What do we have with our wrap there? We have a chicken Caesar wrap. Chicken Caesar's good, but what's going on with the wrap? What's in the wrap? Grain, yeah. How about arroz con pollo? What do we have there?
Beans and
rice and beans, yeah. Beans not so bad, but the rice will have an insulin surge from that. Yep. And then we have what's in the yogurt? What do we find? Lots of sugar in the yogurt, yeah. And then what do we see with the potatoes and the? Okay, so you got your mashed potatoes. You got milk and who knows what else they put in there if you're at a restaurant. And then what do they fry the chicken with? What do they use? Breadcrumbs. Yeah, breadcrumbs. So. Not ideal. And then for dinner, you got your steak and your asparagus and what else? Potatoes?
Potatoes.
Yeah, not so good, not so good. Now, if you cut out the potatoes and you just have the steak and the asparagus, you will go in fat burning. You will go in fat burning, yeah. You got your stir fry. Again, it'll be filling. You'll walk away from the table feeling like, yes, feeling satisfied. But you know what? You will not be happy when you wake up in the morning and your belt... you have to let out one more notch because you're storing fat when we do this, and then you have your pasta. What is the pasta? Same thing, all carbs. So now I'm showing you what not to do, but I'm also going to show you what to do instead. I'm going to show you how to make better choices. Before I do that, we're making pretty good time right now. Wow, this is good. I want to just take a moment to recognize somebody who has actually put into practice everything that we're talking about and really has some life-changing effects from this. So I want to talk about Marilyn sitting front and center. And if I had a picture of Marilyn when she started coming back in November last year, that was our diabetes workshop. That was, I think, your first workshop. Yeah. She was 20 plus pounds heavier. She was on insulin, and she was literally hanging on by a thread. I mean, she was not well at all. I didn't say that to be mean, but I said that out of concern. I mean, there was so much concern visit to visit. I didn't know if I would see her like on her next visit. She was like really that unsteady. She had a lot going on, but she remembers that, and she heard that loud and clear. Anyway, Marilyn just shared this with me a couple of weeks ago. She told me that you know, what I said at the last couple of workshops, you might have heard me say this, you know, it would be a shame for you to learn something tonight, learn something important, leave and not implement any of it. That would be a shame, and it would be a waste of time. But if you could take one thing and implement it, and every time you come back to a workshop, just do one thing, commit to doing one thing, you're setting your life in motion to become better and better. And sure enough, she did this. She started exercising. Look at that, swimming. She committed to exercising every day. There's a picture.
And not
Early.
just exercising, but early in the morning.
Early in the morning, I recommended that for the greatest hormonal effect and fat burning and all that. And she took that to heart, and she did it. And I saw her a couple of weeks ago. She's like, I just want to let you know, it's changed my life. And it's the first time I saw that she wasn't woozy. The vertigo wasn't there anymore. 20 plus pounds less now since she started in November. 24 pounds. Well, that's the review that she posted on Google. She said, I wanted to share with everyone how grateful I am for the service. And in the past 6 months, I've lost 23, now 24 pounds. I'm off insulin. I exercise 1 to 2 hours daily. I do pool exercises, yoga, ageless grace, and I come to the workshops that are offered every single month. And right now, I have improved sleep, better digestion, a calmer mind, clearer thinking, more flexibility, better posture. And as Dr. Yachter said, I am no longer hanging on by a thread. Everybody give her a big... And come on up. I want to recognize you. Come on up, guys. I wanted to give you just a little something. We have a gift bag for you, and actually for Michelle for referring you. But we have an award for you. So that's.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's for being a champion.
Oh, thanks.
And then a T-shirt also.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you so much. You're an encouragement. And this lady also, come on up, Michelle. Talk about an encouragement. So this is who's at fault for bringing her here. It's all her fault. And yeah. Michelle has been a patient since the early 2000s, 20 years or so. So she's been to quite a few workshops. And we have a little bit of a love basket for you here. Just a few little goodies in there. Yeah. So I just wanted to recognize each of you guys. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Yes. It's my pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure. And you're my inspiration. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
I've been coming over 100 workshops and I always learn something new.
Awesome.
Over the 20 years.
That's why we keep doing it. All right. Well, like I always say, the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. So some of you guys look like you're nodding off. You're about to doze off. So I want you to stand up and put your hands on the person to your right, and we need to get people woken up here. Go ahead, put your arms on the shoulders of your friend to the right. Yeah. Good. All right. Good. You get that stress out. Wake them up. Okay. All right. Karate chop. Good. A little karate chop on the shoulders there. Very nice. Good. All right. All right. Turn around and love your other neighbor. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to karate chop. Karate chop. Chop them, don't kill them. Nice and easy. Good. Beautiful. All right, give yourself a round of applause. All right, so now we can go into some of the solutions, what to do instead. So one of the reasons why people are in the habit of having so many carbs for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner is because of what we were taught early on in school, right? How many of you guys remember the food pyramid? Raise your hand if you remember the food pyramid. All right, so you remember what's at the bottom of the food pyramid? The biggest part of what we're supposed to have every day is what? Is carbs. Breakfast, or not breakfast, so just pasta, crackers, cereal, rice, potatoes, all of that which elevates blood sugar. So all throughout the day, this is what's causing insulin resistance because we bought into this. Incidentally, one study showed that the number of diabetes cases in this country doubled between 97 and 07 when they first implemented this, when the USDA recommended the high carb, low fat diet, which is the worst thing for heart disease and diabetes and all the medications for all the diseases that we're taking today. So we should be doing the opposite. We should be doing low carbs. We should be doing, greens, good fats, and decent choices in meats that don't involve hormones and antibiotics and things of that nature. How many of you guys are aware of the grass-fed choices that we can make with the meats, right? Now, I'm not recommending that you eat red meat every day. You should have it more in moderation. But when it comes to chicken and fish, you really need to make better choices because, even though it costs more, remember, your health is an investment. What you do now, preventing disease later, you've seen the economic outcome of this, what it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars in many cases to treat diabetes for all those years. It makes good common and financial sense to eat better now, even if it costs a little bit more now. So look for better choices when you go to the grocery store. Look for these meats that are grass-fed, organic, all of those protein sources, and also lots of greens. Also, you see there the good oils. You see the coconut oil, which is the only oil that you should be using to cook and fry in high heat. All right. And other oils you can use, like avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. Those type of oils you got to cook on a lower heat, otherwise you denature them. So keep that in mind. You want to have those good fats, and those good fats will help your body burn fat. And then you have all those other nuts, like the seeds and almonds, macadamia nuts, pistachios, cashews. When you buy nuts, what type of nuts should you buy? What are the best nuts to buy? Organic, right? Raw, right? Should you get the salted and smoked, any of that? No. Loaded with toxins. So you don't want to do that. Just get the organic, get the raw. And again, you may see the difference in the price there, but when it comes to your body being able to process this and get the clinical results that we're talking about, being able to apply what we're talking about, you have to buy the right type of stuff. And then what else do you see there? You see dairy. Now, does dairy work for everybody? Not necessarily. No, some people do fine with dairy. Some of this has to do with genetics. Some people don't. Some people have an allergy. You can develop an allergy to dairy, and you can also reverse that allergy through desensitizing. Sometimes through food sensitivity testing, we can see the allergens that people develop from having too much of a particular food. Sometimes all it takes is just removing it for a few weeks, and your body lets go of those antigens. Yeah. So here's the thing. Everybody's a little bit different, but this in general, right here, this type of food pyramid is the thing that we should all be gravitating to. What do you not see in that food pyramid over there? Sugar, grains. You just don't see the grains. All right. So let's go off into a little footnote here. And what I'm going to say is, if you're diabetic, if you're having trouble with your weight, if you're having trouble with your energy, if you've got any sort of disease condition, cancer, whatever the case may be, I always say this. This is the ideal. This doesn't mean that you have to do it forever, okay? Just like a keto diet doesn't work for everybody, nor should you be doing it forever. Doing one thing to an extreme forever is not a good idea. It's not a one-size-fits-all. But I will tell you this. If you want to lose your fastest 10, 15 pounds ever, if you want to reverse your diabetes in a week or two, do that. And when you come back here next month and you're down 10, 15 pounds, or your blood sugar is normal, you're due for a cheat day. So I say, go ahead over to Vito's and have a couple of slices of pizza, have your bowl of oatmeal, have your steak and potatoes. That's fine. You're allowed to do that every once in a while, right? But you got to get things under control first. Once you get to where you need to be and you meet your health goals and you've done it, once you've achieved that, now you have the tools to maintain that for how long? The rest of your life. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah, that's something that everybody can do. And I'm not above the law either. Like, I went to La Bamba on Friday. I had lunch with my family. I got the number 9. I got the arroz con pollo. Here, one little trick, if you are going to blow it. Here's something interesting that happens with things like cinnamon, helps to stabilize your blood sugar. Caffeine, like tea, coffee, helps to stabilize your blood sugar. So if you're going to blow it, and it's like midday, and you're going to have a horrible lunch like rice and beans or a stromboli, and you have a cup of coffee right after, that will help a little bit to stabilize your blood pressure. I mean your blood sugar. But lo and behold, like if you're me, you wake up the next day and you got a little jiggle going on down there. That's just me. So it works that way for a lot of people. That's what I'm saying. I'm not above the law. I know what foods have an effect on me, and I'm not going to kid myself. So I give myself one cheat day, not two. One. What happens if I get 2 cheat days? Then it takes me a whole week, literally, to get back to where I was. And that's frustrating, isn't it? So let's not kid ourselves. Like, let's get this under control, learn how your body responds to it, and then you're in much better control of your health, your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your weight. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. We're not trying to fix this thing for a day or a night. We're trying to help you for the rest of your life, right? So that's the ideal that we're shooting for. All right. Yes.
After you eat differently for a while, your taste buds change, and some of those things you don't even want anymore.
That's a great point. Everybody hear that? It's true. Somebody asked me that. Yeah, somebody asked me that a couple of days ago, and that was the answer that I gave them. They're like, what if you don't like, if you want to go on this program and try to lose all this weight, like, what if you can't stand vegetables? Yeah. Like what if you hate vegetables? Never eat vegetables. I hate vegetables. Well, that's what I'm saying. Once your body starts getting healthy, it craves healthy foods. So that's exactly.
Taste buds definitely change.
Taste buds change. Everything changes. So that's a great point.
What did she say? We couldn't hear.
Taste buds change after you
Clean out
change
your
what you eat, and you eat a cleaner,
Your taste buds
better
change.
diet.
When you
don't
start
even
eating
want
better, your taste buds
those
change, and
things,
you
like
actually.
the idea of certain foods that are bad for
Yeah.
you don't even appeal to you anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
We couldn't hear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
When we get that.
So here's what to do instead. So let's look at meal choices that you can make that will help to maintain stable blood sugar levels. So this is my breakfast,
Berries.
my kitchen, my counter. This is what I have pretty much every day for breakfast. I'll have a serving of berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. Sometimes I'll have, and
Mulberries.
what's that?
Mulberries.
Mulberries, blackberries, just the berries have low sugar, and that's good if you have a little bit of that and some almond butter. And what I use is the Ultraplex Complete Clean, because again, it's very low in sugar. It's got a lot of protein, which is what I need after I work out in the morning. It's almost like a meal replacement. And the other thing that it has, which you learned last month, is it has N-acetylcysteine in it, which is a gentle daily detox support. It's got all your vitamins except vitamin D. It does not have vitamin D in it. It's got every other vitamin in it except vitamin D. So you want to continue to take your vitamin D supplement. It's not a replacement for that. And it's got all your antioxidants, and it's got all your amino acids and things like that. But that's how I kill all the birds with one stone, and it saves me time. It saves money, believe it or not. And you take 2 scoops, you can put it in water, you can put it in almond milk, and you've got everything that you need right there, fully nutritionally supported and fat burning, because it's keeping your blood sugar stable. And if you have that good fat in there, like the almond butter and or a little bit of coconut milk, you won't get hungry, because it has satiety value. It keeps you full, and it's not going to spike your blood sugar. So that's how you start your day without the carbs. Another thing would be you make eggs. You can have an omelet, or just stir up the eggs, scrambled eggs. What do you see there? Got all your vegetables, onions, peppers, tomatoes. You can make an avocado dish with tomatoes. You can get creative with that. But again, what do you not see there? You don't see grains, which is really important if you want to start programming your body to burn fat and keep your blood sugar stable and reverse diabetes. What do you see for lunch? Right? No hoagies, no sandwiches, no pasta, no rice. You have a good salad there, and you have a piece of protein. You have a piece of fish or chicken, even if you have some sliced meat on there or steak, it's fine. But what are you not seeing there? Grains. So what are you going to eat in that to keep you from getting hungry between lunch and dinner? What's the thing that's going to keep you from getting hungry? The good fats. Just like we had with breakfast, we had the good fat. We had the almond butter with the coconut milk. With lunch, you always want to have yourself some good fat with the lunch. Now that could be avocados. You could, on your salad, you could put extra virgin olive oil, lots of extra virgin olive oil on it. Make sure you're not having those creamy dressings like the blue cheese or the Italian or the French. You know, all that is it's got the bad fats in it, and it's got sugar also, a lot of corn syrup. So the extra virgin olive oil is key for the person who's trying to burn fat and lower their blood sugar. Same thing with the Greek salad. You know, you've got your protein source in there, lots of good fats in there between the cheese and the olive oil. So I'm a big fan of the olive oil. You know, when I was training for the Disney Marathon, I hired a trainer who was in the book of records for running. I hired a man by the name of Stu Middleman. He was Anthony Robbins' personal trainer, and this guy ran on foot from San Diego to New York in 56 days. He ran and won the 1,000-mile race in France in 1974, I think it was. So he's actually in the book of records. So this guy knows a little bit about endurance and nutrition. So I hired him. I trained with him for 7 months because my goal was to run the marathon and not keel over and drop dead after that, and or not be suffering the consequences for the next few weeks or the rest of my life. I wanted to do it and actually feel good and be in the office the next day. And he helped me accomplish that. And the biggest thing really wasn't the strategy in terms of the running, because I wasn't looking to win the race, or I was looking just to finish it feeling good and energized and healthy. And that's the biggest thing that I got out of it. And all of that came from the good nutrition. And the two things that he always asked me when I got on the phone with him every week: how much water are you drinking? And how much oil. And so he had me taking lots of fish oil capsules, and he had me carry around a little thing of extra virgin olive oil wherever I went. If I was going to eat my meals out or eat here, always had to make sure I had enough quantities of extra virgin olive oil, because those two things were critical for the health of your joints and all the tissues in your body, including your brain. So, words of the wise, guys. I mean, it's not just high performance for athletics, it's high performance to go the distance with your health and your life. So take this to heart, that extra virgin olive oil, that's the good stuff right there. You should have a big vat of that on your table, and anytime you have a salad, that's what you should be using. And also for dinner, if you're having vegetables, make sure you dress up your veggies and that stuff. Like, yeah.
On the olive oil, you have to be careful. A lot of them are cut with other oils that are not good. So you have to be really careful about the quality of the olive oil you buy.
So if everybody didn't hear that, the quality of the extra virgin olive oil is very important. So make sure that you're shopping for, you know, top shelf. You want to get the best that you can get. It will make a difference. You don't want to get rancid or poor quality oil, because you won't have the same clinical effect. So you see down here, you see the lamb chops and the broccolini. Again, this is a good choice. This is something that has good fat in it, has satiety value. You're not going to be hungry after you eat that, and your blood sugar is going to be stable. You're going to be in fat burning, and you're going to wake up happy with your stomach flat in the morning. Right? Same thing with the chicken and your veggies. You can have a stir fry. You got your stir fry in there. You have your shrimp or whatever you want to put in there. Even if you put in chicken, and what do you have in there? Lots of what? Lots of veggies. That stir fry looks pretty good without the rice, doesn't it? I'm in. Yeah. So is this kind of coming together, making sense for everybody? What we could do better? You know, when you think about it, when you plan it in advance, do your shopping like one day of the week. Do your shopping on Saturday and Sunday, and think about what you're going to have for the whole week. Make good amounts of it. You know, if you have leftovers a couple of days, that's fine. You could take it with you if you have to go to work. Have it for lunch. Have it for dinner. Think in advance. Make yourself a shopping list, and that removes a lot of the guesswork. And a lot of the times where we were like, uh-oh, now what do? I don't have time. And then we find ourselves driving through, fast food. So a lot of that can be avoided if we just plan it in advance. So this is the shake that I was telling you about, the Ultraplex Complete Clean. This is what we call the Breakfast of Champions, although you could use it as a meal replacement for lunch too. I bring this up again because it meets the specifications for anybody wanting to control their blood sugar and also support themselves with all the nutrients that you need. So if you haven't tried this yet, I would encourage you to do that. I've had patients who just did this because they wanted the multivitamin support. Sounded like a good idea, meal replacement, weren't in a rush to like lose weight or anything, but just had this every single day and sat in the front row after like two, three months later, told me they lost, like 15 pounds. Just, that's all they did. It was helping to stabilize their blood sugar. And of course, they cut calories a little bit, but it works. So if you haven't tried it, I recommend that you do if you're looking to get these types of results. People are always asking me what kind of supplements work the best to control your blood sugar, to actually get your body under control with these conditions, to help prevent diabetes, reverse diabetes, to help you start to reduce, get off medications. These are the top 3 which we know have been clinically proven to support that. Ultraplex glucose, which supports healthy glucose metabolism, insulin sensitivity, helps maintain normal blood sugar, period. Berberine has been shown in studies to be more effective in controlling your blood sugar than metformin, and that's a fact. So we have a lot of patients that take this. It's very effective. And then the alpha lipoic acid, a critical nutrient, really just to maintain overall function with all cells in your body, but it helps every cell utilize glucose more effectively. Your liver cells, your fat cells, your muscle cells. All 3 of these used together, what we have seen, create something called a synergistic effect. It's amplified when they all work together. You get a much more predictable and effective outcome. So I would recommend, if you're trying to get your blood sugar under control, that you get all 3 of them. Use them all together. This is not a replacement for your medication. This is one of those things that if you are looking to reduce and get off your medication, this is an absolute must. You got to get this in your system, get help with getting things under control. And then what happens is, as you start getting your blood sugar under control and you actually see your blood glucose dropping, then it's time to go back to your doctor and say, listen, my levels are lower. I don't think I should be still taking the same dosage of metformin or insulin that I was taking before if my blood sugar requirements don't say so. Make sense? And a lot of people aren't aware of that. I tell patients that for blood sugar, for blood pressure, be on the lookout for that. Because when you're under care and you're doing things proactive, those levels start stabilizing, going down. You can't keep taking the same dosage of the medication that the doctor prescribed originally. That'll just make you worse, right or right? Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. The workshops are the only time that we discount supplements. So it's 15% off of any of these. So actually, not just those 3, the suite, but anything with an Ultraplex label on it, 15% off tonight only. So you're welcome to take advantage of that. That includes the shake as well. So is exercise important for blood sugar? Does it have a stabilizing effect on blood sugar? Yeah, especially after Thanksgiving, after one of those big meals where you push yourself away and you can hardly stand up. It's always a good idea to go for a brisk walk after that. But here's something shocking. A study that they did recently, here's what they found. 107 obese individuals, 65 and over, they looked at these folks after a 1-year period. And here's what they did. They looked at 3 different groups, right? Of all these people, 65 and over, 3 different groups. They were either put on a weight loss program, some of them were put on a weight loss and exercise program, and some of them that were put on an exercise program only. Now, the question is, which one do you think did the best? So, the weight loss only people, the people who lost weight only, did nothing else, no exercise. Here's what they did. Insulin sensitivity improved by how much? 70%, just by losing weight. If they lost weight and they exercised, 86% improvement in their insulin sensitivity. And then the people who exercised without losing weight showed what? No improvement. This is not saying don't exercise. But what it is saying is, what's the single greatest factor for impacting your insulin sensitivity? What's the one, if you're going to do one thing to make the biggest difference, what do you need to do? You need to lose weight. So when we talk about losing weight, it's not just to look good and have more energy. It's for your health in the future. What does your health look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Are you going to be taking more medication or less medication? Are you going to be more active or less active? Are you going to need a knee replacement and a hip replacement? Or are you going to reverse all the degeneration in those joints. And this is what we're talking about right now. And the difference between losing weight and losing fat is where this all comes down to in correcting your metabolism. Because most people, when they associate losing weight with, it's just a diet, right? How many of us have dieted before? It's not terribly, I mean, raise your hand if you've lost 10 pounds before. You've done it before, right? And raise your hand if you put that 10 pounds back on. Keep your hand up if you put more than 10 pounds back on, right? Now, the question is, do you know why that happens? Do you know why that happens? Most people don't know why that happens. If you lose weight and you're just trying to conserve calories, what you're doing is starving yourself. So a survival mechanism kicks in with your metabolism, and your metabolism slows down to accommodate that starvation process, right? So then you lose your 10 or 15 pounds, and then you start eating again more calories, and then what happens? You're eating more calories with a slower metabolism, so what does your body do? It starts storing more fat again, and that's why you gain more weight than you had when you originally started. Am I hitting a nerve right now? Are we seeing why all this frustration has happened to us? So you have to correct the metabolism, and you have to change the hormones, like I said. So when we take a patient through a weight loss program, we're not so much measuring the weight as we are measuring the metabolism, how much fat has been lost, and making sure that we're not losing muscle and we're not losing water. Does that sound like a healthier way to look at these things? Now, how do you know? How can you quantify that? Well, there's a special scale that you stand on, which actually, we have you take off your shoes and socks, and you stand on it, and it puts a low-level electrical impulse through your body. And there's an algorithm in the computer which can actually decipher what your fat mass is, what your muscle mass is, what your water mass is. It's called a body composition analysis. And it can also tell us your metabolic age. You may be 50 years old, but your metabolism may be working like somebody who's 90. Now you could lose 10 or 20 pounds, but if your metabolism is still working like a 90-year-old, it's a guarantee what? It's all going to come back. So when we take somebody through this program, we have a starting point, like on the left there, we can see your weight, your body mass index. By the way, if your BMI, your body mass index is over 30, that's the highest risk for heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. It's almost a given. So if you're over 30, that's the danger zone. That also has to come down under 30 as well in order for you to meet your health goals. And then you see your body fat percentage, body fat mass. So that's how we know. Can you see that little graph down there that's kind of trending downwards? That's the body fat percentage. And we actually know how much body fat, like let's say for example, if you weigh 200 pounds and it says you're carrying 96 or you're carrying 75 pounds of fat out of that 200 pounds, if you're going to lose 15 or 20 pounds, what do you want to see come down? 75, you want to see that fat mass come down to 65 or 60. If you're going to lose 15 pounds, you want it to be all what? All fat. But if you're not losing that fat, what do you have to be losing? Muscle and water. That's not healthy. So that's why this is so important that when you're following a nutritional regimen and you're taking the supplements which are helping to get the hormones balanced and get your metabolism correct and get your body burning fat, that every time you get weighed in on this, there should be a quantifiable, evidence-based outcome to show that you're actually reaching your health goals. By the end of that program, your body, you want your metabolism to be at or near your chronological age. And so when you start eating more calories again, your body's metabolism is revved up and it can burn it off. Does that make sense? Okay, so we've put thousands of people through this program over the years, and I can tell you that you take a type 2 diabetic, and you literally we've seen them off of their medication sometimes in less than a week. I mean, it works. If you follow the program and you do it exactly the way it's supposed to be done, it's impossible for the results to not be there. So let me just turn this up and I wanted to get this. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yachter for probably about.
All right, let's try that again.
Hi, my name is Linda Tomlinson. I've been a patient of Dr. Yachter for probably about 3 years now. I initially came to him for chiropractor needs, and I went to a workshop and they were talking about a weight loss program. I normally don't try weight loss programs, but everyone I've tried thus far never worked. But I decided to try it anyway. And I tell you, it was the best decision I've made for health. I don't have to take the diabetic medication anymore. I lost the weight I wanted to lose, and I have kept it off for a couple of years now. Deborah is very, very knowledgeable. She will walk you through it. It's one of those things where it's a matter of life, you know, because we want to be able to keep the weight off and eat healthy, and you know, live longer, basically. So I just want you guys. I'm going to suggest that you guys try it because it really worked. I've sent 4 people that I know there that have went through the program, the weight loss program, and they look wonderful. So just letting you know, I'm suggesting it. I put my life on it, and I did, and I got the best results. So you guys should try it. Just want to let you know.
That was kind of strange. I'm glad it hung in there. I thought it was going to shut down. But did everybody get the gist of that? She got off her diabetic medication. She lost the weight, and she kept her weight off. And that's just one of many. And that's the typical outcome that we see with that. So the plan that she's talking about is a 40-day system where basically we hold your hand, we walk you through, we do progressive follow-up weigh-ins. There's a special food plan we give you. There's a manual. There's a journal which you fill in everything that you're eating day to day. The supplements are included, and we give you a guarantee. If you don't lose at least 15 pounds going through this program, and you're doing everything that we show you to do, we put you through a second program at our expense. But I can tell you that if you do everything the way you're supposed to, you will see a good change with that. So also, it's in your flyer that there's a discount, and it's not just for the weigh-in. Normally, the weigh-in, the body composition analysis, is $99, but the special offer for the workshop tonight it's only $27 if you want to make the appointment. You're welcome to make the appointment, see if you're a good candidate for the program, and if you are, there's a special discount that's given off of the program, and it's in the flyer tonight. And that discount ends either tonight or this week sometime. It's in the flyer there. But I just want to mention that. If you're interested in that, speak to Deborah, and she'll help you with that. So last thing I want to ask you is, what does your blood sugar have to do with chiropractic? What does your blood sugar have to do with chiropractic? Anything? Maybe? Well, okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story here. I had a lady walk in my office, and she was bent over like this. She's like, Dr. Yachter, my back is killing me. Can you help me? I said, yeah, come on over here. And I took her in the back, and I got an x-ray. And on the x-ray, I saw this up in the left-hand corner. You see the bone out of alignment, putting pressure on the nerve? That's what I saw. And I said, George, I think I found what's causing your pain. Come with me. So I took her, and I laid her on the table. Very, very gently, I started moving the bones, and I could feel them move. And she got up off the table, and she stood straight up. She wasn't bent over anymore. She stood straight up. And when she stood up, I saw she had an insulin pump. I said, oh, you didn't tell me you were type 2 diabetic. She said, well, you didn't ask. And so I'm looking through her forms there. She's been diabetic. And I said, okay, well, I closed up her file. I said, you know what, I want you to come back tomorrow. Just make sure you're doing okay. Let me check up on you. So she leaves, and about an hour later, somebody runs in off the street screaming at the top of their lungs, call an ambulance, one of your patients has passed out in her car. So I ran out there, and there she is. She slumped over the steering wheel. I couldn't believe it. I ran in and I called the ambulance. I hung up the phone, and then as soon as I hung up the phone, I just realized, wait a second, she's diabetic. I wondered if it has something to do with her blood sugar. So I got some orange juice, and I came out, and I started dabbing her lips with it, and guess what happened? She started coming to. And the ambulance came and took her away, and I walked back in my office, and I'm just shaking my head, just trying to figure out what happened. Thought she was doing good, but she just went to the hospital, so obviously I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? I didn't sleep much that night. I came into the office the next day, and I'm adjusting patients, and the door opens up, and guess who it is? It's George. She was the lady who left my office in an ambulance, opening the door to come back in. I'm like, oh, thank God for that. So she walks in, and she's smiling ear to ear. She runs over to me, gives me the biggest hug. She starts just shaking her head. She's like, Dr. I don't know what you did yesterday, but I haven't slept this good and felt this good in 40 years. Can I have another adjustment? And I said, yes, but let me show you something here because I thought I did something wrong, but I think I might have done something right. So I said, come on over here. I want to show you something, Georgia. So I took her over to her x-ray. I said, on your x-ray, you see that bone that was out of alignment, putting pressure on the nerve? You see where the nerve is pinched? She said, yeah. I said, you know where that nerve goes? From the middle of your back, you see how it feeds off to your pancreas and your stomach? Yeah. I said, well, I think what happened was when I moved that bone off the nerve, it opened up the nerve channel, started allowing the nerve to supply function to your pancreas. But I think your pancreas started making insulin, but your pump was still on, so you got too much. She said, wow, that makes sense. Are you going to adjust me now or what? I said, yeah, I'll adjust you. I guess all you care about is feeling good. That's fine by me. I just want to make sure it makes sense. Good. So I was adjusted her that day, adjusted her the next few weeks. I did a progress evaluation a few weeks later. You know what she told me? You know what she told me? Her endocrinologist was reducing her insulin requirements from 8 units down to 5 units. And I said, well, what about your back? She's like, I haven't had my back hasn't hurt since the first adjustment you gave me. I said, okay, well, I guess we'll keep going. Yes. So she felt so good, having so much energy, less medication. 4 weeks later, she told me she's down to 3 units. About in the 5th month, she told me she was down to 0.8 units. She went from 8 units to 0.8 units. You know what her endocrinologist said? At the University of Miami, has her eligible for a special study. Never saw a diabetic like that make a recovery. Wanted to know what my clinical protocol was for reversing diabetes. Was that my approach? Was that what I was trying to cure her diabetes? Was that what I was doing? No. What was that? What was my approach? What was I trying to do? Correct the subluxation. Remove the interference. What's traveling through those nerves? What's going through those nerves? Information that your brain is trying to send out to what? Just the pancreas? No? How about the heart, lungs, liver, spleen, the kidneys? Every cell, organ, and tissue in your body depends on proper communication from the brain. And you know what? The brain depends on those answers from the cells back to the brain. So it's got to be a constant open feedback loop. And all I'm doing is removing interference so the brain can better comprehend the body and its environment and adapt itself as best as it can, and for you to be as healthy as possible, as long as possible. If in the process of that somebody reverses their diabetes, praise the Lord, hallelujah. If in the process of that somebody gets off their blood pressure medication, hallelujah. If in the process of that somebody is cancer-free, hallelujah. But you know what? I'm not curing that. All I'm doing is finding and removing the interference so that you can be the best that God created you to be, and not 1% less. How many of you guys want to be 100% of your God-given potential? Correct. Okay, so you're under chiropractic care now. You come in and you're getting regular adjustments to keep the nerve channels open. How long do you think it's a good idea to keep getting your nerve channels checked and maintained interference-free? How long? Forever? For the rest of your life? Does that mean once you start going to a chiropractor, you got to keep going for the rest of your life? You don't have to do anything. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. Like, you don't have to brush your teeth, right, honey? Only the ones you want to keep. It's a choice. Just like you eat good and you exercise and you do all these things, you choose to do this because smart people are proactive. And in the process of that, they save time, they save money, and they have the best quality of life. And for that, I want to applaud you guys for being here tonight because you're taking those steps. And, how do these subluxations occur? Well, you guys know. Slips, falls, trips, car accidents. I had a guy in here today, and he never had a pain in his life until he came in here last Thursday. And he was in the worst pain that you'd ever seen. He should have been in an emergency room. He's like, I've never had a pain before. It just started 3 days ago. How long, when I looked at his x-rays, how long was that damage and degeneration in the spine for? Years and years and years and years. How often do you think I have this conversation with patients? All the time. The damage in your spine doesn't start just when you feel it. No different than a cavity or cancer. So that's the reason why it's so important, just like we go to dentists for regular checkups, that you go to a chiropractor for a regular checkup to prevent problems, prevent health problems. You know, every time you get adjusted, Jim, it's like you have no idea if your body is better able to kill off cancer cells or prevent a heart attack. You have no idea what you're preventing. But just by maintaining a regular adjusting schedule, you're hedging your bet. You're playing the odds. And you're doing a really good job of it. So far, so good, right? Wouldn't you say? At least after the last 10 years. So the weight of a dime on a spinal nerve can reduce the nerve transmission by as much as 60%. The weight of a dime. So when you have pressure on a nerve, most of the time you don't what? You don't feel it. But if it's shutting down vital nerve supply to organs and tissues, when would you want to know if that's the case? Later or now? Or actually, years ago, right? So how do you detect if that's happening? Well, we use NASA space technology, which is thermography, which gives us a thermal image if there's a problem there. And if we suspect that there is a problem there, through that, range of motion, muscle spasm, tenderness, and all these other factors, sometimes x-rays are appropriate. And then we can look at the x-rays and we can determine where the cause of an individual's problem is coming from, or we can actually predict what symptoms or diseases will usually eventually develop if it's not corrected. Wow, what is that worth? If you could prevent the cause of disease before it even has a chance to rear its ugly head, what is that worth? Who's doing that in the midst of all this nonsense with our healthcare? Tell me what specialty is focusing on that right now. No. And that's really the only cure for disease. Prevention. Don't get it. Then you don't have to treat it. How important is that? So if you're a patient in our office, I will always be doing progress evaluations because we don't guess, we test. That's why you'll always be getting rescans, an updated film at least once a year. For those of you who are guests, if you haven't had this done, you can have that done also. Now normally when somebody comes into our office for the consultation, the exam, the range of motion, the testing, the whole process, and the x-rays, and to review the x-rays with me, it's about $360. But on behalf of the person who brought you in tonight, we have a friends and family coupon, or it's a health pass. You can use that if you would like. And that reduces it to only $97. And that will get you everything that will give you a complete comprehensive workup to see what the status of your spine and your nervous system health is. If you've got any health problems, anything that you need help with, what the best approach would be. If it's possible for us to help you, we will show you where that would start. So if you'd like to make that appointment to meet with me, if you're a guest here tonight, see Deborah or Tamara or Nikisha. They can book that appointment for you. The offer for that $97 for that discount is only good tonight. So you have to see that. That does have an expiration date on it. But we're happy to help you with that if you'd like. So for those of you on your way home tonight, just remember the core blood sugar supplements are key with addressing what we talked about tonight. We have limited quantities, and again, the discounts are for tonight only. If you need to make appointments for the body composition analysis or an appointment with me, please see them at the front desk. So I want to thank you for being here tonight. Thanks for joining me, guys. I love and appreciate you. God bless.